Chief Meteorologist Tom Coomes here, and I want to talk about the derecho Monday night and early Tuesday morning and the damage left behind. Two tornadoes did touch down, but for more than 90% of the area, the damage that was caused was from straight line wind, not a tornado. This is some of that tornado damage in Elkhart on the south side. You see many trees knocked over. It could be straight line wind, but what we also see are trees that appear to be shredded apart. That's also a clear indication of a tornado. And just in this area, the density of damage. That really is what takes things over the top sometimes, that it was likely a tornado and not straight line wind. Not always, but when we see something like this, it seems like things have been through a blender. It's more so likely to be a tornado. But this damage, large limbs and large trees knocked over, straight line wind. And so the point I made last night was I didn't care what the warning was. It was life-threatening because trees could be knocked over. We talked a little bit about this as well, is that many trees, because of how wet it was, could also be pushed over. This is likely tornado damage in Marshall County. You can see the trees sheared off here, and then more trees that have been sheared and kind of laying in a few different directions, laying on top of each other. This is from the Marshall County Emergency Management Agency, and this is down near Old Tip Town. But this damage is straight line wind. A lot of times, I get this a lot, it had to be a tornado. I mean, ripped the roof off a building. It didn't. Wind, straight line wind, can still be 70, 80, 90 miles per hour, and that's what a lot of these storm wind gusts were. Here's more roofs ripped off. This is down in North Judson, especially portions of Stark and southern St. Joseph and Marshall County saw quite a bit of straight line wind. This side of St. Joseph County, and we talked about how many trees could be uprooted because we were very wet over the past week. Think how you pick weeds in wet weather. Well, large tree, strong wind, wet ground, everything gets knocked over and uprooted. And in some areas, it's tougher to gauge the damage because it doesn't look terrible until you look closely that, well, maybe a lot of plants are knocked over. A lot of the farm fields may have seen storm damage as well, the corn being knocked over by the strong wind. So this was the map last night at midnight. The map was red. This was a big concern. Countywide tornado warnings. This is kind of rare because typically that's not how we shape a tornado warning. It's usually more focused on a spot. Well, we didn't have a spot where we knew a tornado was going to happen. We knew this line was destructive. It had a history of being destructive through the Chicagoland area and then moving into our area. We got the warning out with more than 30 minutes lead time that it was coming. The wind was coming, and there's the possibility of a tornado somewhere in that box. And that's how it played out. But predominantly, it was straight line wind. And you can see this bowing nature. We call this a bow echo on the radar here because of its bowing nature. And this is an indication of the strong straight line wind. And often what we see in these bowing areas is the strongest wind is somewhere near the center of the bow, and then wind can move at different speeds in different directions ever so slightly on either side of that bow. And so that's where, especially through the Knox area, through North Judson, through Walkerton, very strong straight line wind. Where the tornado touched down near Old Tip Town in Marshall County, this is what the radar picture looked like. And sometimes you have portions of the line that move a little faster or a little stronger than other portions of the line, and that can create an area that you get a little bit of a spin-off. That spin-off can create a tornado. Think about when you kind of see strong wind blow into an alley, you can kind of see things spin up. Similar. This is not the same as those storm chase supercells that produce tornadoes. These are very short-lived spin-ups that also impacted the south side of Elkhart. Radar picture around that time frame, this also indicates how these tornadoes only lasted for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. There's nothing there, and then here's something, and in between these two pictures might be the time frame that the tornado actually touched down. That's what is kind of the struggle here, is that they're so short-lived, they don't even exist long enough for the radar to see them. We just know there's a possibility, and you can kind of see the wind field likely here going in multiple directions and likely producing that spin-up tornado. This whole complex, though, is what we call a derecho. Why? Well, there's a special classification. Derecho in Spanish means straight, but it is a long complex of damaging straight line wind. Started in Iowa, raced across northern Illinois, and kind of finished across northern Indiana. And look at all the reports. Hundreds of reports, and most of these from straight line wind. Over 450 miles of damage across the country. So this classifies as a derecho. And this is one of the times that, again, I'm going to tell people over and over, straight line wind can be just as dangerous and destructive as a tornado. We had both last night, and anytime that we are on air for a warning, I don't care if it's a severe thunderstorm warning or if it's a tornado warning, we're on air for a reason, because there's a danger and we want you to be safe. I hope you stay safe and enjoy some nice weather ahead, but next time there's severe weather, we'll let you know about it.